Hey, ballers, thank you for all the great reviews and comments. Please keep them coming, okay? And if you enjoy this show, please rate us, review us, share it with a friend. This will help spread the words and inspire others. So today's guest is Brian Buhr from Houston, Texas. Brian is a young entrepreneur, very ambitious individual that I get a chance to meet. And today he is going to share with us how he went from being a medical sales rep to a landlord and now a private lender. At the time of us doing this interview, Brian is involved in 35 deals and cash flowing about 55,000. So I can't wait for you to listen to our conversation. But first, let's get to the intro. Hey ballers, welcome to episode 121. With me is Brian Buhr from Houston, Texas. Hey Brian, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for being here, and I'm sorry we cut into your golf time there.
No, I always wear golf attire. I don't even play golf. It's just comfortable. That's why I wear it.
All right. Well, can you give us a quick introductions of who you are, your name, what you do?
Yeah, sure. For the guests that have never seen me or watched me, my name is Brian Buhr. I'm actually relatively new to the real estate industry. I've probably been in it, about 3 years full time, and then over when I had a traditional job, I was doing real estate kind of part time. For about 3 years, during my corporate career. But full time about 3 years.
So 3 years, huh? I've seen you over the time at various functions and events and all that. Besides, being in your golf attire, you're always looking pretty dapper. So what's your secret?
Now that I got a little time to go work out every day, plus, you get the right lighting, everything looks good.
Yeah, always very positive. You and your wife, you guys are a really nice, friendly couple.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys have always, every time I see you at events, I mean, you know everybody. V is popular. She knows everybody. Got a great success story, and so it's a privilege to even come onto your show, and you're doing a great job with it. So I watched some of the episodes, love it. So I think it's going to go far.
Oh, thank you. Great compliment. I love learning about people, learning about what they do, about their success, what's working, what's not working. So this is just what I really enjoy doing here, just talking to people like you, like other investors. So anyway, you started real estate 3 years. What did you do prior?
I sold medical supplies. So if you're familiar with total joints, and what that is people who have arthritis, over a period of time, they need a total knee or their hip replaced because they just, things wear out. And I used to sell those components to hospitals and doctors, and did that for almost 15 years, maybe a little over 15 years. And it was a great business, but over time, it just became less and less fun. And although the money was decent, I just was looking for an exit, and thank God for real estate.
That's interesting. I interviewed another guest, maybe one or two more guests on the show that actually came from the medical sales background. And I myself, before I got into real estate, I was going to go apply for a medical sales position. And I went to a couple of interviews, but they were so depressing. And so by faith, here I am, right? And here we are talking. So maybe it's that background that helped you in what you do today, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I really would. Anybody who's in the medical field, you're going to discover pretty quickly that you have no life. You have to be up early, usually in the OR or at a hospital by 6 a.m. And then on the weekends, a lot of your time is dedicated towards trade shows, meetings, late night dinners with doctors or whoever your client is. But you really don't have a life. And going into real estate full time, I really wanted to take back control over my time and freedom, flexibility to do what I want to do. I'm here in my house, it's 10:30. And I would never be able to do that in my past career.
So share with us, what's your day-to-day like?
So day to day, generally, I used to wake up at 4 a.m. and work out. Now I wake up at around 6:30 a.m., feed my child, my 7-month-old, and then I'm usually going to the gym by 8:30. I take I take my time. So I usually don't get into to my desk and to my computer until about 10:30. And I like that schedule at the, I'm not rushed. I usually don't take phone calls before 9. I've really had to take back my time from people that steal it.
Yeah.
And it could be family, it could be friends. But yeah, so like I usually will start my work. I analyze deals, I do some private lending. I invest in small apartments, just pretty much enjoy the day. But as long as you got cash flow, that's really the key. The point of this call today is really emphasizing cash flow is what allows you to take back time or your life back. So that's what I was able to discover by going into real estate full time.
So you mentioned that you wake up pretty early. Is that by choice or do you feel like you have to?
No, it's by habit. I mean, I was waking up by 4 a.m. 15 years. I mean, it's just that's we've been doing it for so long. You're up early, and so now I try to like sleep in a little.
It's funny when you when you have a job, right? And you set your alarm to get up every morning, you have a hard time getting up. Wouldn't you agree? But
Yes.
then once you're working for yourself, you don't even set an alarm and you get up anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
So 3 years is it's long, but it's actually pretty short for a business. Tell us more about like what you do. How do you find deals? What do you invest in?
Yeah. So to kind of condense this, so when I got out of the medical device industry, I had so much saved. I had a small company that I sold. And so I was able to get, pretty sizable capital, return for what I had built in 3 years. And I didn't have any cash flow though. So like on paper, I looked pretty decent from a balance sheet, but I really had nothing to supplement or even take over my income. So I was used to making X amount of dollars in the medical field. But now that I'm completely real estate full time, I have no way to supplement that or replace it. I still have my expenses every single month, but I'm slowly going broke is what I like to call it. Is I'm spending money, every single month, going further into like negative, I would say debt because I didn't have any debt, but I was spending money when I should have been making money. And then I came across a few guys at a real estate event who, they were apartment guys, private lenders who showed me or told me this is some of the things that you should explore to get cash flow. Mm-hmm. And I really took a dive into that, and it's been fantastic. And everything. So like my rules for investing now is if it doesn't have some type of cash flow component, I don't even consider it. No matter how much equity is on the backside, if it's a 5-year, 10-year play where I'm getting no cash flow over the term of the investment, I don't even look at it. And it hasn't failed me yet.
So your main objective is cash flow, but not necessarily appreciation.
It's nice, but I pay my bills today, not 10 years from now. So right. I want my money today. And I've lived now, it's been a big change and shift in my, my philosophy, because when I didn't know real estate existed, right? You get your money in corporate America anyway, and you put it with a stockbroker or an equity guy, and then they lock it away in their mutual funds and never pay you anything. They're like, why would you want to touch the money? Let me manage it for you and slowly fee you to death while I hold your cash, right? That's the way that the general stock market works. Yeah. And real estate, cash flow is what allows me to do what I want to do and do things like this. And if I wouldn't have done that, and I became, I want to say, kind of like rude when people would solicit me for investments, because I'm like, how much does it pay? How fast does it pay? When am I expected to get my money back? And they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, don't even hit me with that investment if it doesn't answer those questions.
I mean, that's why you make smart investment choices, right?
Yeah.
Why would you? I hear all the time where people buy something and just like being in a negative because they hoping for some future gain, and I can't understand that really.
Cash flow is so important. I mean, especially if you're trying to slowly work your way away from something. Like if you love your job, I say stay there. Make as much as you can in real estate, make as much as you can in your career, your job. But if you're looking to like, I was like that quiet desperation. Like I put on a smile, do my job. But when I come home at night, I'd be like, I've got to get out of this. I don't know how, because I'm being paid just enough to where I wouldn't want to quit.
So tell us about your first deal. Like you went to some seminar and then you ran into some people and you learned about this wonderful thing called real estate investing. And then what?
So my first deal, I joined a local REIA. This was back in 2003 or 4. And I bought my first single family rental. And it took me a long time to do it. Actually, I went to classes, almost took me like 5 years to buy my first single family house for cash flow. Yeah. And then I found out that landlording wasn't as passive as what they said, right?
No.
But it was a good experience. They taught me how to lease to the correct tenants. So I had good tenants. I did make money on each one of those transactions once I sold the asset. But so single family is where I started. And the kind of like the natural progression of moving into bigger deals was just as my comfort level grew. And I think a lot of people start there. So my story isn't necessarily unique in that aspect.
How many single family property did you buy before you get into the lending? This episode is brought to you by Buzz Vacation Rentals, a premier property management company in Houston and Galveston area. Give Buzz a call at 281-549-8432 to learn more about their rent guarantee program, or check out their website at listwithbuzz.com. Now, back to the Real Estate Baller Show.
I only bought 4. I started off small. So I bought 4, held on to them, thought I was going to move to another city, believe it or not. And then I sold all of them, recapitalized, got all my cash back. And then I sold my medical company. And so I put everything I owned into the stock market. My dad was a financial planner with a company called STA Wealth here in town. Good group, great organization. But, we had it into a bond. We put it into some type of bond, like a tax exempt bond. But it lost about $1 million in 3 months, basically. So the equity value of what I had my money into for cash flow at that time was in a mutual fund, not a mutual fund, but a bond. But on paper, it lost about $1 million in value inside of 3 months. And so at that point, I was pretty depressed. Didn't know if I was going to have to go back to work because it was. And then when the value of it came back up, I got out. I sold, and that's when I met people who were doing apartments and private lending. And I was like, I'm going to do this.
So how much money you think you got to have to start private lending?
I used to think that you used to have, this is a good question, a couple different things. You can have a capital, right? You can have 100,000, it'd be nice if you had a lot of money because then necessarily you don't have to use bank lines. But if you've got good credit, you can borrow on the bank's terms, which is relatively low interest rates, 4%. I think my lowest line is at 3%. And you can lend, basically get lines of credit through banks and then private lend at 9, 10, 12%, whatever. I used to think you had to have all that money, but you don't. You just have to have good credit. And then you have a little bit of assets on the balance sheet, right? Do you have some cash in the bank? Not a lot, but you can be a private lender starting as little as, there's investments out there to where you can invest as little as 10 and get 10% on your money. And it's secured by an asset. Quest does a great job with having vendors. They come in, they present, and they show what kind of investments they have, where you can just kind of plug and play your money. You don't have to do a lot of due diligence or underwriting on the asset because they're doing it for you. Yeah, I mean, you can be a private lender. You can get into deals for a relatively small amount of capital, and you can borrow it, or you can hold, or you can have cash.
When you say small, define the range. Maybe are we talking about a couple hundred? Are we talking about 10, 20,000?
Yeah, 10. I mean, I have a deal right now that somebody introduced me to. It's 10. I just wanted to try it, so I had $10,000 in one of my retirement accounts, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put it into this. It was a company called Ignite. They're here. They have I guess a presence here in our market, but they lend to commercial, like big commercial deals. Mm-hmm. And then the way their arrangement is set up is where they have it secured by the actual collateral. The collateral is the asset that they're lending to. They show the history of the borrower, how many deals they've done with the borrower. It's pretty legit. And then they have a back-end portal where they distribute your interest payments. So every single month you're getting a check. And I just tried it and really like their process right now. But That's as little as $10,000. And you don't really they do all the underwriting. You get a whole borrower file on exactly what the asset is, where it's located, what the appraisal was, but it's a nice start.
So they require you to be a accredited investor?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's good to know. And what is it called?
Ignite Funding.
Ignite Funding. Okay.
Just try it. Again, I'm not trying to promote them. I have no affiliation with them other than my own capital's in a deal right now. And at the moment, things are going fine. And it's a small amount. That's why we were talking about small amounts of capital.
Is it similar to crowdfunding?
No, honest to God, I don't know how they're set up, but I met up through a Quest event.
So you transitioned from corporate job to landlording, and then you went to private lending.
Yes.
Those are some big steps.
Well, yeah. When you take a big hit in the stock market, you're going to be looking for anything to get away from it. And there's some great people in town, like all the big lenders, like the ones that you see at all the events. They are fantastic people. My always thing is like, I never really look at it as competition, because private lending can be anything, right? And so like, I never go into anybody's event and be like, hey, I never advertise as a private lender. I have a very small group of people that I lend to. They're friends, and that's it. I just kind of stay in my lane. I don't ever have a dream of being huge, because I just want to be relatively small and just be left alone, to be honest with you. So as you scale and get bigger and bigger and bigger, you're going to have more responsibilities and obligations. I'm looking to get away from all that and just be small, so.
Well, maybe you're the smarter one than all of us, because, the bigger you get, the more headaches.
That's right. Yeah, well, I've had enough headaches in my life. I just want to be left, small time. That's good.
So let's explain to the listener audience maybe what private lending means in layman term. Just briefly.
Yeah. So private lending is really, someone you can meet them at, usually somebody has a property that they plan on renovating. It's had a lot of deferred maintenance. It's, whatever. It's somebody has not loved the property. So they want to fix it up and then they want to sell it. Kind of like, those TV shows you see where you, flip or flop, very similar to that. And they'll come to you and they'll say, hey, look, I can buy this house for X amount of dollars. I'm going to need X amount to fix it up. And it should be worth, much more. You can lend to them, and it's usually secured by a first lien deed of trust in this particular state and market. One of the things you need to, as a private lender, you need to learn, and it does take skill, is you need to learn how to value a deal, right? How to analyze a deal. Does it make sense? Will it, if this thing goes completely south, how do you get out of the deal? And that's one of the skill sets that's, needs to be learned prior to just blindly handing somebody over, cash. But that does take time.
So how did you learn those skills?
Books, asking guys like our friends that we see at all these real estate events. I'm like, who's your attorney? What things are important to lock up the deal? What do I need to pull on the borrower? Credit, criminal, tax returns, all those things. What's truly important to secure my money? And, I'll be honest, not all the deals have gone incredibly smooth. I can share with you one horror story here in a little bit, but yeah, might as well. I can share. This is with a lender. So I have a friend of mine. He built my house. Great guy. And he lives in a neighborhood that is kind of like up and coming. So there's a lot of great properties to buy. So this house down the street, we decided he had the ability to buy it at $54,000, found it on MLS. They had a realtor. We had a realtor. I lent the money at $54,000.
Okay.
So we did a 1-week lease back for this guy who's a little older, and no problem. We got $3,000 deposit. We allowed him his 1 week to correctly move his stuff out of the house.
So the seller was asking for 1 week lease back.
Lease back, right.
Okay.
Right. And so the 1 week goes by.
Yeah.
We have our dumpster set to be dropped there like Monday morning, and we realize the guy hasn't moved a thing.
Oh.
Right? Contact his realtor and be like, hey, what's up? Your seller's supposed to be out of the house. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. He's not moving. You're going to have to evict. And I was like, God, okay, well, no problem. We got $3,000 down. We can evict. That's right. That's why you take the deposit, right?
Okay. So you held the buyer, the investor held back $3,000 of deposit or security deposit. Okay.
Security deposit. So we got $3,000. We got $3,000 of the guy's money. Eviction probably cost, worst case scenario, $1,000, right?
Yeah.
So we get down to the last day. where we're supposed to get, they call it the right or the writ of possession, I guess. And then at the last minute, there's an attorney that shows up, one of those free attorneys. He basically says that they're filing a claim saying that it was forged. The seller never signed the documents. And, and we're like, you got to be kidding me. This was done with a title, a title agent. We have tons of witnesses. So, but they wanted to do that. They wanted to basically kick it up to the, what do they call that? I want to say that the JP court, where now we have a full-on civil suit with this guy. And so then I hired an outside. So we have the title, the title policy that comes into effect, where they have an attorney that's retained by the title company for title. And then I had to hire an outside attorney to go after the potential back rent of however long it's going to take to get this guy out of the property. So I got two attorneys, one for the rent that's owed per month, and then one that's trying to go after the title of the property.
So when this happened, you immediately file a title claim, right?
Yes, right.
Okay, and then you have, so two cases going on, okay?
Right. I'm going to this is just a story that's great for listeners, because this is crazy. It's crazy, and I don't know how it happens, but it happens because the court systems are so just out of whack right now. When COVID hit, this also happened like right when COVID hit. So,
so it's recent. Okay.
Everything, we're still going through it, so I don't care about talking about it, but we're going to settle. But this is what happened. So COVID hit, everything shut down, court systems are backed up. Yeah, so this is about a year, and I don't know how many months into this thing. And we get our attorney calls us, and he's like, look, I'm already $15,000 into attorney fees, close to 20. And he's like, look, we have the title policy is going to take effect. You're going to basically be able to get the money back if you chose to settle. Just get the money and walk, which is like $54,000, which is, in hindsight, I should have overinsured the property with a title policy. I don't know if that's how sketchy that is, but I know some people that do, like they insure it 110 or 105 to whatever the value of the property is or the purchase price is.
Yeah.
It would have helped me in this situation because I had outside legal fees.
Yeah.
But, so my attorney calls me. He's like, look, you could absolutely win this if you wanted to drag this on for another year. It's going to cost you probably another $15,000, $20,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, we just all decided to walk, just get our money back.
Oh my God.
Lose the money. And I didn't want to be in another, this guy is an older guy. I was like, you know what? He got one over on us. We even had a sworn affidavit from his realtor. Yeah. Right. Saying that he was of sound mind. Somebody got the money, right? So when we wired at the title, somebody got the money, somebody took the money. Apparently he gave the power of attorney to a relative of his that picked up the check and supposedly never delivered it to him. And that's where all these, anyway, that's the only time I've ever lost money on a deal.
Wow.
Everything else, no matter how bad it's gotten, we've always come out ahead. We've taken a property back, sold it for more.
So if you were, if you ever get to take possessions of this property, what is it worth?
Well, if we would have gotten it back, we bought it for 54. We're into it for 20. Let's just round up $20,000 in legal fees. So what is that? 74. And then it needed $50,000 in renovation. But the houses, a 322, which is what we need to convert it, would probably sell for 2.25. There's a good profit margin in there. Yeah. But the headaches and just the negative energy that's pulling you down, right? Going through this. Yeah. So I don't want to be into it I can make that back relatively quick. So I just wanted to be out of the deal.
Well, so with that, how should a new investor who's decided to become a private lender, what advice would you have for them? Yeah.
Anybody that's looking to just start in real estate, ask yourself one of two questions. Do you want to be an active investor, I guess, or passive investor, depending upon how much capital you have? Because, Airbnb is active for the most part. Rental, real estate, if you're going to be a sponsor or a syndicator, that's active, management of something. Or if you want to be a guy that just hands money over and makes an interest rate or, possible equity. So I think there's two roads that an individual goes down. Most people start down the active and eventually find out that they, like me, I just want to be passive. I want to just put my money with people that know what they're doing and then just pay me my check. So I'd say really find out internally who they are as a person. So if they're older in life, passive is probably going to be the route. If you're younger in life and got the ability and, to manage frustrations and problems, because everything in life is going to be a problem, right? There's nothing easy.
Amen.
So if you got the stamina to deal with that, there's a lot of money to be made on both sides. But yeah, it's more of a personal question for each of the viewers out there. That's the good news about being in our market is we have people that can take you down either road.
Okay, so you talk a lot about cash flow. Let's explore that and maybe explain what that means to you. What cash flow means to you? Like what kind of deals? What
Sure.
are you looking for?
I got a couple of different rules. My money's got to be secured to an asset, right? There's got to be some type of collateral behind it. What's the term? Like if I'm going to lend or if I'm going to invest in a deal, whether it be an apartment or a commercial, some type of commercial real estate, how fast can I get my money out of the deal? Is it a 12-month deal, 3-month or 3-year, 5-year? I don't want to be into this thing for longer than worst case scenario 7, but it's got to have cash flow to it. So like I look at everything like my monthly expenses are X, right? And then my cash flow has to be much more than that, right? And so all the profit that I make per month, I just continue to roll into more things that create more cash flow, right? That obviously continue to grow. Mm-hmm. So like my expenses, I try to keep relatively in check. I don't do anything crazy, but I love being able to have as much cash flow as I can to continually roll that ball into more and more deals. So, thank God I discovered it young. And, but I mean, that's the crazy thing. So my dad, I'm sorry, I'm going down a different road here.
Yeah.
My dad would have clients that would come into his office, right? Ultra high net worth individuals, 10 million, 7 million, $8 million. And whenever he looks at their overall assets, they're rich on paper, right? But they have no cash flow. They can't retire. Isn't that crazy?
It is.
It's crazy. They're rich. Why can't you just retire? It's because you have no cash flow. That's where you change your laws. You're like, I have got to have cash flow for this to make sense. And then I don't even touch anything else. So like private lending is great because it's monthly. You get points up front if you charge them. It's secured by an asset that you can take back if the borrower doesn't pay you back. Apartments, if they're leased up and they're stabilized, they have cash flow. They should. So, I mean,
well, there's a couple of ways we can go down this path with what you just said here. But let's talk about, obviously, being a private lender. You're not like a bank, where people will come knock on your door and say, hey, I want to loan money. Because the only way you can cash flow is you got to keep that money working. So how do you go about finding which deal you're going to invest in? Because you're not waving a sign and say, hey, I'm Brian, I got money.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So when I initially started to explore it, I really didn't know who I was going to lend to. I'd read books on it, met people that said, go do it, but I had no idea. And I had a gentleman that I was kind of following in the real estate industry, Curtis Warden, awesome flipper over in the Heights. And I met with him one day and he's like, hey, look, we came across this wholesale deal where the guy was selling 2 properties for $400,000. And the land value over in that area was like, $250 for a 5,000 square foot lot. He was buying them for $200 a lot. Mm-hmm. And so he turns to me and he's like, hey, do you want a private lend on this deal? So like, I've never done this before. Yeah. And now I'm in a situation where a guy wants $400,000 to close on this, property. And I think I did half of that. I think I did one of the lots, but pretty terrifying event considering I have no clue what I'm doing. Right.
Yeah.
But it started from there and did that one experience, met some more friends in the industry. And then slowly it becomes to the point where like more and more people will just gradually, casually ask you what you do and how you can possibly help them. But like now I'm at a point where I have people that contact me and unfortunately sometimes I got to turn them away because I just don't have the reserves. I don't have the cash reserves, even if I got bank lines, because it's a good problem to have, but I usually refer them to another friend saying, hey, look, this guy's got money. I'll underwrite the deal. We can, split the fees or whatever. But yeah, it's grown into something bigger than what I can, that I can imagine. But I'm thankful for it. It's, I hope it never changes.
So when you do lending on these deals, let's backtrack. So you secure by the asset. How do you secure the asset?
We have our attorneys prepare the documents that are sent to the title company.
Okay.
So there's an attorney here, local one in town that I've used that was referred to me by another hard money lender. We use the same attorney, same docs.
And so you secure the asset by maybe this is real asset properties, right?
Yeah. I don't really lend on anything crazy. I mean, it's your standard type of housing. Like I don't do weird real estate. I don't do vacant lots. I don't do, you'll get whenever people know that you do lending, you're gonna get hit with a lot of wackos. They show up to these events. They like, I've got this cemetery. It's a great deal, And I'm like, I don't want to. That's not. I don't do that, man. But I like the straightforward. In the event this goes terribly wrong, I can get out of this at many different price points. So I don't do really $500,000 loans anymore. Like those properties I just don't do those anymore. Usually my stuff is like 300 and under.
Okay.
I can get out of it. I can get out of it if it goes bad.
So maybe in another word, you would lend on something that you would feel sexy about, or if you ever end up with it, that you'll be okay with.
Yeah. Like, somebody said, he's like, never lend on anything that you wouldn't be proud to own.
Okay.
There's some truth to that,
So, how many deals are you on right now?
Loans?
Yeah.
36 private loans right now. Some of these I have with friends. So sometimes we co-lend. So if the loan's for 200, I'll put in 100, they put in 100, and then we just ride it for 6 months together, 9 months together. Yeah, total. My wife does lending. I do lending. My parents do lending with me now. I use their money. So we roughly have about 35 to 36 loans that generate around $50,000 a month in cash flow.
Okay. So do you do, I think that's kind of answer my next question is, do you partner with people? And when you do partner with people on, being a private lender, how do you structure those kind of deals?
It's just in proportion to their amount. So It's easy. Let's say it's a $200,000 total loan. Somebody has 100, I have 100. So in the actual, whenever you look at the deed, it'll actually say, you have 50% interest. I have 50% interest in the loan. The interest payment, if it's $1,000, which, it's split down the middle, it's easy to service. So it's that way. And we have some other loans where like I may have more into the deal and then, or they have more into the deal. And it's just split in like proration, or not proration, but pro rata or whatever they call it, in proportion to whatever their loan amount is. So it's very black and white. I mean, that's what I like about the lending side is it's like down to the penny, what you're expected to make.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, so you don't necessarily go form a new entity venture. It's just let's V and Brian do lend on a deal, 100,000 each, and then
like you can have V Lee's LLC, Brian's LLC, and then so we have both of our lending, whatever, or both of our companies in the lender docs, and then when we service it, we have my wife services all our loans, so she accepts the payments from the borrower, and then. In the software that we use, it automatically spits out exactly what is owed to you, and then she wires you your money.
It's a software for that, huh?
Oh, you know that. V, you know that. You know everything, V. Of course there's a software.
I can't claim to know everything. I only know people who know things.
The software is extremely expensive. Now I know why people, their closing fees are so expensive for hard money lending is because the software is almost $1,000 a month,
Wow. Yeah. What is it? Do you mind sharing with us?
Okay. Mortgage Office is kind of like the standard. And then there's Mortgage Automator, which is what I like their process better. But I'm stuck in a 1-year contract with Mortgage Office. Okay.
Well, you got to make that money back soon.
That's why you charge on your closing documents. You should at least have at least $250 to $350 coming back to pay for the software. If you're not doing a whole lot of loans, like if you're doing 1 or 2 private loans a month, I don't know, you can do that without a software program. But you start getting into like 5 a month or 10 a month, you probably need something and it'll pay for itself. If you're charging for the fees, it'll cover the cost.
Man, you are doing great. 35 loans out.
It's not big. I told you it was small, and then a lot of my other deals are apartment complexes and commercial real estate. And I got partnerships on other deals. And so, yeah, but I like to stay small, man. My phone hasn't rang since you and I have been on this show. So good day.
You got cheap money?
No. V?
You gotta have a REBaller discount here.
The REBaller discount. No, you keep, it's in line with what the industry is. So, A seasoned investor should always expect to pay less for money. That's understandable, you know?
So you said earlier, I want to just clarify on the terms. You like to be in the deal 3 to 5 to maybe longest is 7 years. So are those your long terms, or your loans actually are shorter terms than that?
Oh, shorter. Yeah. So loans are 6, 9, 12.
Okay.
And then most of my apartment deals I'm in 3,
Okay.
5, 7 year.
Okay. All right. So that's what allowed you to go golf every now and then and just, walking around.
V, if you would have seen me 10 years ago, we wouldn't have, I'd be a disaster. I'd be, like I'd be doing this interview, like walking around my office, in a hospital, can't sit down, haven't eaten breakfast. I worked hard early in my life. And so like, that's why I say like, everything I have now is completely because of me and some good people around me that have showed me a few things here and there. But I did all the heavy lifting, and I don't shy about that. So I killed myself when I was younger.
That's amazing. Takes a lot of discipline to get to where you are.
Yeah, but V, you meeting people like you in the real estate game. That's what's so crazy. It's like I hope somebody watches this and gets excited about like, you know what, I've heard about real estate, or I'm thinking about doing real estate, because honestly, like, it is the only industry out there where people like you and I can build somebody else up or build each other up, where we want to help each other, right? Good contact,
right.
Good contractor, to ultimately become, wealthier or raise our net worth. And in most other industries like corporate America, the minute you start succeeding, somebody's trying to hold you down.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I love doing that. You putting on this show that can potentially help somebody else out there. Say, you know what? This guy's story, no matter how good or bad this is, hopefully it'll show them to look into it. Maybe they find something that's interesting.
I think there's opportunity for everyone. It's like you said, right? As long as you want to do it, give it a shot, and just do it smart. Do your due diligence.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I know we weren't allowed to do foreclosure and all, but were you affected? All your loans were paid?
Yeah. Honestly, COVID, aside from Home Depot, we were building a house in the middle of COVID. So the lines, we had to stand in line for hours to get materials. But outside of that, everything was, pretty good. Building was still like, our market is fantastic. Real estate is crushing it in the city of Houston. The values seem like they just continue to go up and up. The demand for home ownership in this market is only getting, stronger. People are moving here. Taxes are low, or, there's no state taxes, but it seems like the cost of living is just going higher and higher. And if you own any dirt in this area, it's only going to help you. So
I think we have the people from California and some other states to thank for that. Driving up our cost of living.
The more they go on lockdown, the better it is for us. I say lock up New York and California for as long as possible, but until all their residents move to Houston and drive up our land value.
Yeah. All right. So at what point in your career, in this new venture, that you felt like it was a turning point, a profound moment for you?
Honestly, I think, going back to something we discussed earlier on, is really shifting from a investing strategy as I'm going to invest some money into this particular area, and then I'm going to wait, right? I'm going to wait till someday, some way, it's going to be more money. It's going to be, higher in value or whatever, like a mutual fund or whatever, stocks, and really shifting it to where I demand cash flow, because I still get investment opportunities emailed to me, discussed to me at events, where they're like, oh, we're going to construct this thing, and in year 3, year 4, year 5, it's going to pay out a 20%, 30% return. And I'm like, hey, look, sounds great. Hope it works out. Is there cash flow today? And there, of course, it's not, because it's new construction or something, or it's an investment that doesn't have cash flow. And I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to lock up $100,000 into something that's not going to pay me until year 5. I just don't. And so just really being adamant about stressing that to people really early in the conversation, because it's easy to be solicited by people to be put into deals where you're never going to see a dime of that until the exit. And that's if it goes good. I mean, think about it. Something I don't remember what I did 3 years ago. I mean, I don't, I mean, you know, like, so how do I know that that deal is going to go as planned, as it's discussed today, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Who knows?
Right.
Like, pay me today, and stressing to all the people on the viewers, get paid today. Do not invest in anything.
You hear, Brian? Get paid today, guys.
Get paid today. Get your freedom back. If you like your job, keep your job.
I want to play the devil advocate here. So pay today, but then isn't that short-sighted?
No, because going back to what I stress, most people that tend to have a higher income do what? They go buy stupid crap. Bigger toys, bigger houses. Keep your expenses in check, maximize your cash flow, and then continue to roll the excess cash flow into more things that cash flow. And then,
Brian, you telling me that I need to go work hard, make a lot of money, but don't spend anything?
No.
How am I going to do that?
No, just let your cash flow buy your stuff.
We ballers, we got to spend money.
Hey, I'm telling you, you know what's crazy? I used to pay for all my cars in like cash, or like, you know, I would just pay them off.
Yeah.
And then recently we got 2 new cars, and the interest rates are like 0.9.
Right.
And I'm like, for the first time ever, I'm gonna put debt on a car, because the interest rates are, now knowing that we could make 10, 11, 12, whatever % on an investment, like why would I lock up $50,000 or $70,000 into a car at, you know, whenever I could make money on that? I can make, you know, at the minimum 10%.
Yeah.
So now I have a totally different philosophy on borrowing against cars.
Well, obviously you're doing really well now. Who would you thank or give credit to your success today?
Man, V, that's good. So this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but, you know, when in college I began reading, I knew I wanted to be, I didn't know exactly where I was going to lead, but I wanted to have a better life. I wanted to have, you know, money, like just like anybody else. But started reading authors, and they led me to other authors, right? So you'd read one book and it said like, this book changed my life. And then I'd go read that guy, his material, had a book. So the authors that really had changed my financial life, it's funny because there's one of Kiyosaki's books that's not really relatively known. It's not Rich Dad Poor Dad, but it's called If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. Did you ever read that book?
No.
The book is awesome. It's a really good book. And
I know this sounds crazy, right? But I have not read any of the Robert Kiyosaki book. Like people talk about it all the time.
B, are you serious? You haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
No.
It basically has the flow chart of where the money comes in and goes out. Like if you want to be poor, the money comes here and just goes out here. And if you want to be rich, it goes in the asset column, and then the assets pay. It's like the best book if you're a visual person. It's phenomenal.
Well, maybe it's time for me to go pick it up, but God, I have not read it.
You're buying
confession.
Cash flow. You're buying assets that cash flow.
What'd you say?
I said you're buying properties that cash flow. So I mean, you're doing what the book suggests. You just need to read it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So books like that. I mean, Jim Rohn is another big, more of a personal development guy I follow. Just really discovering that kind of material wanted me to be a better person, which led to better success in my business. It all kind of evolved because, you know, I was a person early on that I was not responsible, not dependable, and then getting the right material in front of me that I could read and be like, okay, this is powerful. And it began to slowly change me into, you know, credit worthy. I could, you know, if I said I was going to do something, I'd follow through with it. And I'm still a work in progress like anybody else. I still have flaws and a bunch of them, but at least I'm trying every single day.
Yeah, trying is the key. Just keep trying.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Same thing, V. If it's working, don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. Just keep the cash flow coming. More deals, more apartments, more commercial, more loans if they come my way, and then constantly keeping the money. You know, there's something funny. Grant Cardone, he's like, cash is trash. If you're holding cash, it's trash. I'm like, yes. The minute something pays off, I'm pissed. Because now I got to go find out where to put the money. I got to put it into something that immediately generates or something back to me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this wheel of, okay, you're like whack-a-mole. Money comes back, you got to get it back out. And then money comes back again, you got to get it back out. And I probably
How hard is it to keep the deal flow?
Not hard.
Okay. Not hard for you.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I have a mix of things that I can just plug and play without me doing any underwriting on a deal. It's not like I'm just like, the majority of what I do is positioning cash into investments, right? So like, yes, I underwrite deals, but I have things where I can plug and play. I can buy a collateralized note that somebody else did and just ride the short-term interest on it. So, it just depends upon what I have on my desk and how fast I got to get money out, So. All
right. So we're wrapping up. What is the one thing that people might be surprised to learn about you?
I'm pretty boring, V. Do the same thing every day. But they were surprised to learn one thing about me. I don't know. Like, I'm a really big soccer player. When I had a corporate job, I kind of fell out of it. I used to be like where I should have had a scholarship. And then now now that I'm full-time real estate, I can afford to like pick it up again and play again. And so what we did is we built a soccer field next door at our house.
Oh, cool.
And we live in the middle of downtown, which is unusual because people drive by and see this crazy soccer field. But I wanted to I'm a big kid at heart. And that's another reason why I got into this, is where I can just say what I want to say and do what I want to do. Yeah, I'm pretty immature when it comes to a social standpoint. Like, I like to have fun. But when it comes down to like a fiscal, I'm very conservative and responsible. So I like to have fun. But when it comes down to money, I also like to make sure that, we're set and we're good. So did that answer your question?
Yeah. Well, I got a soccer story for you.
What's that?
Well, growing up in Vietnam, we big in soccer as well, right? Mm-hmm. And when I was a kid playing around, when the ball rolled to me, I tried to kick it, my shoe flew off instead of the ball. So that was my soccer story.
The shoe hit anybody?
No.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right. So last question. How does the audience get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if anybody has any general questions, my cell phone is 713-620-8148, 713-620-8148. And if you want to email me, it's just my full name. It's Brian, Brian, J as in Jack, BUHR, the number 38 @gmail.
Well, hey, thank you for watching. And thank you, Brian, for joining us today. If you enjoy the show, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss another one. And, give us a shout out on social using the hashtag REBallers. That will help us to spread the words and inspire others. If there's any topic that you want us to discuss, feel free to leave a comment or send us an email at info@reballers.com. Thank you and see you next time.